Discover the amazing hidden rituals that transformed the lives of enslaved women in Pernambuco. Rain hammered the roof of Grace's tiny one-bedroom home, echoes of thunder swirling her thoughts into a storm of frustration and fatigue. At 32, she bore the weight of bills that stacked like the high tide. She was a waitress at the local diner, balancing late shifts and a spirited 7-year-old daughter named Lily. More than once, she felt the sharp glares of judgment from others in their small, rural town. Being a single mom came with its burdens, but Grace dug deep into her resilience, clinging to the hope that one day her little family would have a better life. As the rain drummed on, she ventured into her late grandmother's attic, her heart tugging at the sentimental tones of nostalgia. Dust danced in the slanting light, swirling with memories. Among forgotten trinkets, she discovered a weathered journal, a treasure chest of stories documenting the struggles of enslaved women from Pernambuco, Brazil, her ancestral homeland. Each page opened a world of vibrant tales, detailing their fierce spirits and determined hearts. Grace felt the hope blanket her, a surge of strength she yearned to pass on to Lily. "Mommy. Are you okay?" Lily's sweet voice broke through her thoughts. Grace smiled, her heart swelling as she pulled her daughter into a hug. "Just reading, honey. Learning about strong women like you. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Together, they dripped candles of hope each Sunday evening, lighting the way with stories of resilience. They invoked spirits of the past, a ritual now stitched into their lives. Their town, while steeped in skepticism, began to buzz with the energy of unity and strength. Grace envisioned gatherings where stories could unite, creating a shared fabric. Yet, as whispers of doubt emerged from corners of the diner and the church, she found the walls of her dreams beginning to close in. Then came the storm of economic downturn. Small businesses shuttered, and hearts grew heavy with isolation. It felt like watching the ripples of doubt tighten around their community. But this was the moment Grace had been waiting for. She called for unity, urging the townsfolk to share resources and stories, to support one another just as those women in her grandmother's journal had done. Her heart raced as some stepped forward, but she could hear the murmurs of the skeptics growing louder. What can she do? She has always been different. Their words sliced through her resolve. Grace stood at the town hall meeting, a quiet storm brewing inside her. Would they listen? Time slowed as she faced the crowd, opened her mouth, and shared the wisdom of her ancestors, their struggles echoing a truth too powerful to ignore. The air crackled with anticipation. Would her call for unity take hold, or would the town remain shrouded in fear and doubt? Grace held her breath, wondering if the fabric of their small town could transform, stitch by stitch, into a brighter future, or if she would lose everything she had fought so hard to build. The room fell silent, the weight of Grace's words lingering in the air like the fading sound of thunder. She studied the faces before her, some curious, some creased with skepticism, others softening as her stories took root. Every flicker of emotion echoed in her heart. It was as if she was unveiling a hidden treasure, one that could sculpt their future and bind them together. A soft voice broke the stillness. It was Miss Collins, the elderly librarian, her sunken eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I remember my grandmother telling stories of hardship, tales that made me who I am today." Her words sparked a flicker of recognition among the crowd. They were all connected by the threads of their unique histories, woven into the tapestry of their small town. Grace felt the warmth spread across her chest. This was it. The moment she had been hoping for. "Each of us holds a story, a power," she urged, her voice gaining strength, just like those women who survived unimaginable struggles. "Together, we can find our voices." As the evening stretched on, others began to rise and share. A mechanic revealed how his uncle fought to keep the family business afloat during tough times. A young mother spoke of her grandmother's passion for gardening, turning a backyard patch into a thriving community patch. Each story ignited sparks of hope, weaving the room closer together. Outside, the rain began to ease, and Grace felt a shift in the energy of the town, a gentle stirring of dreams and shared ambitions. The skeptics were still there, but their stares had softened into contemplation. Perhaps they were beginning to see. By the end of the meeting, an idea took root, a community storytelling event, to take place in the town square that weekend. It felt like a pulse, alive and racing, something to build upon. Grace, her heart humming with possibility, left the meeting, hand in hand with Lily. "Did you see, Mommy? They liked your stories." Lily beamed up at her, eyes glowing with excitement. Grace knelt and hugged her daughter tightly, feeling the magnitude of hope they were creating together. "Yes, sweetheart, they did. And we're just getting started." Yet, as Grace lay in bed that night, a sense of unease crept in. Would enough show up? Would they embrace the challenge of vulnerability and share their stories fully? The whispers of doubt curled around her like a blanket, pulling her from dreams of a united front into a reality clouded in uncertainty. That night, sleep was evasive. Grace kept thinking of Ms. Collins' words, the power of stories. If she could just harness that power and turn it into something more tangible. She wondered what other challenges awaited, what deeper truths could be unearthed when the townspeople let their walls down. As the dawn crept in, the universe gifted her a new thought. What if we could celebrate more than just stories? What if we could ceremonially invoke those spirits of the past through song, dance, and food? The moment flickered in her mind, a spark igniting the flame of hope. But would it be received with open hearts? Grace took a deep breath, standing up to face the day with renewed resolve. One thing was clear, she had to convince the town to go further, to venture deeper, into the hidden rituals that connected them all, and as the sun broke through the clouds, she felt a strange exhilaration. What would she uncover next? What could possibly bind them closer? A sense of urgency danced in the air as the week unfolded. Grace moved with purpose, her mind swirling with ideas for the upcoming storytelling event. She could almost hear the heartbeat of the town, a rhythm echoing with possibilities. As she walked down the familiar streets, the sun now gently warming her skin, she greeted neighbors with an enthusiastic wave, hoping to stoke their interest. Everyone had a story, and it was time to weave them together into something beautiful. That Friday afternoon, Grace gathered with the other organizers in the quaint cafe on Main Street. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wrapped around her, fueling her excitement. Ms. Collins was there, her frail hands resting on the table, but her spirit shone. "What do you have planned, Grace?" she asked, her voice firm despite her age. Grace leaned in, her eyes gleaming. "I want this to be more than a day of stories. I envision the town square filled with laughter, music, food, a celebration of who we are, of our roots. We'll invite everyone to not only share their stories but also to experience them through songs and traditional dishes that remind us of our past." The room buzzed with a lively energy. The mechanic nodded, his eyes bright. "How about a cook-off? Everyone brings something that has significance to their families." "Oh, that's brilliant!" a young woman exclaimed from the back. "We should also include a storytelling circle where people can share short tales while others listen." Grace's heart swelled. This was the spark of community she had been yearning for. Ideas flowed like water, igniting imaginations. They spent hours sketching out the details, each suggestion building upon the last. As dusk blanketed the town, Grace returned home, her cheeks flushed with joy. Lily whipped around the living room, her little hands raised high, mimicking a dance. "Mommy, can I dance too?" "Absolutely, sweetheart. In fact, we all will." Grace laughed, twirling her daughter playfully, but amid the laughter, doubt nagged at the edges of her mind. Would they truly embrace the idea? Would the townspeople dive deep into their pasts, or would fear pull them back? The thought made her hesitate, the echo of her own insecurities creeping back. That night, nestled in bed, Grace closed her eyes and conjured the faces of the people she hoped to unite, those filled with skepticism, those glowing with pride, and those still in the shadows. She yearned for a simple willingness to share, a collective leap of faith. Saturday arrived, bright and bustling with energy. Grace stood at the edge of the town square, her heart pounding as people began to gather. She caught snippets of conversations, laughter radiating around her. Music floated through the air, a tapestry of sound blending with the sense of food being prepared. As the first rays of the afternoon sun kissed the square, she stepped up to the small stage, her voice trembling with a blend of nerves and excitement. "Welcome, everyone. Today is about us, our stories, our heritage. Let us celebrate who we are." As the crowd erupted with applause, Grace felt the warmth of their collective spirits lift her own. Each moment felt electric, charged with potential. They were all here, stepping forward into vulnerability, a joyful dance into the shared past. Just then, she noticed someone lingering at the edge of the crowd, a tall figure with a familiar face but an unreadable expression. It was someone she hadn't seen in years. A spark of recognition ignited, but so did a wave of anxiety. Would this shake her newfound hope? Would their presence strengthen the community fabric, or threaten to unravel it? Grace's heart raced. This was just the beginning, and yet she could feel the story shifting in unexpected ways. What could this encounter mean for her and the town? The puzzling figure at the edge of the crowd took a step forward, emerging from the shadows of memories long buried. It was Jake, a childhood friend, someone who used to share secrets and dreams under the vast sky of their youth. Yet time had transformed him, his strong features were now etched with lines that whispered of hardship. Grace could hardly believe her eyes, his presence a pile of mixed emotions crashing against her heart. "Jake," she breathed. His name felt foreign on her tongue, yet it held the weight of nostalgia. The crowd continued to murmur, laughter mingling in the background, but all she could focus on was him. "Grace," he replied quietly, an undercurrent of something unspoken running through his voice. A moment passed, and everything seemed suspended. Around them, the gathering thrummed with life. Children darted around, laughter bubbling through the air like the sweet tea that Miss Collins had brewed in her kitchen just the week before. People were sharing stories, tasting dishes brought from family kitchens, and joining in songs that echoed through the square. Yet here stood Jake, a figure from a chapter of her life she had closed, appearing to rewrite the narrative. She took a step toward him, her heart drumming with uncertainty. "What brings you back?" Jake looked over the festivities, his eyes momentarily resting on the laughter of a nearby family. "I heard about the event, I had to see it for myself. This town, it feels different now." His words were hesitant, as if he were treading carefully on fragile ground. Grace's instinct was to draw him closer, but old wounds flared in her mind. "Have you come to share a story?" she asked, attempting to keep her tone light. He hesitated, and she sensed the weight of his silence. "I don't think my story fits here anymore." His words pierced her. Wasn't he this day about stories like his? About the journey through hardship, transformation, and triumph? The thought of him still feeling isolated twisted in her gut. She wanted to reach out, to pull him into the warmth of the community gathering, to show him that it was precisely stories like his that could weave strength into the town's fabric. "Everyone's story matters," she asserted, her voice firm. "Your past is part of us, part of today. Stories connect us. They help us heal." Jake's gaze flickered toward her, a hint of the boy she once knew glimmering in his eyes. She saw the struggle to decide whether to step into the light of the gathering or retreat into the shadows where fear loomed. As the cook-off buzzed with excitement, Grace felt an urgency building within her. She didn't want him to slip away again, not now, not when the air was charged with hope and healing. "Join me," she urged, her heart swelling. "Let us share together. Please." Just then, Miss Collins approached, bearing a plate of her signature cornbread. The smell wafted through the air, drawing attention. She greeted Jake warmly, her smile wide. "You are more than welcome to share your story with us today. We could all use a little honesty." Grace watched as Jake's posture softened, uncertainty giving way to reflection. She could see him battling an internal storm. It was palpable, a yearning to connect versus the weight of the past. Behind them, the songs grew louder, and the spirit of the day beckoned. The crowd was alive with the flavor of resilience. The energy of the event carried a promise she desperately wanted Jake to feel too. What if Jake started, glancing at the gathering, what if I told my story? Just as he was about to continue, the heavens rumbled. A clap of thunder rolled through the air, sending a hush over the crowd. The clouds overhead darkened, and a few drops of rain began to fall. Would this storm wash away their hopes, or would it birth something new? Grace's heart quickened. This was a pivotal moment. She could sense it, taste the anticipation that thrummed beneath the surface. What could this storm bring? And would Jake find his voice amid the coming chaos? As thunder rolled overhead, Grace glanced anxiously at Jake. The flicker of uncertainty in his eyes intensified, matching the growing storm clouds above. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the doubt etched into his brow. "We can talk inside," she offered, gesturing toward the nearby community center. "What's a little rain compared to the stories we have to tell?" Jake hesitated, his gaze darting back to the crowd, bustling in stark contrast to the brewing storm. I don't want to ruin anything. This day isn't about me," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's about everyone, Jake," Grace replied passionately, her heart aching for him. "Your story matters, trust me on this. These people, they want to hear from you. They want to know that they're not alone." Her words held the weight of years spent building connections, weaving threads of shared experiences in town. A faint smile tugged at Jake's lips, yet shadows lingered beneath it. "I don't even know where to begin," he admitted, the vulnerability washing over him as the first raindrops began to tumble with urgency. "We start anywhere, just like we did when we were kids," she encouraged, stepping closer. "Tell me how you've been. What brought you back? You hold more than just memories, you hold truths that could help others." As the rain began to pick up, she grasped his wrist gently, anchoring him in this moment. He looked at her, the boy she once knew fighting against the man he had become. "Okay, let us find some shelter," he said, taking a tentative step toward the community center. Though uncertainty clung to him, there was also a flicker of something else, hope. When they stepped inside, the vibrant chaos of the festival continued outside, but within the building, the atmosphere became a sanctuary of sorts. The walls adorned with photographs of past gatherings spoke of unity and resilience. Grace could feel the heartbeat of her community in every corner. As they found a quiet spot away from prying eyes, Grace watched Jake gathering his thoughts, his fingers tapping against the edge of the table. "I've seen a lot," he finally said, his voice steadying. "Some good, some bad, it's hard to tell them apart sometimes." The storm outside echoed his turmoil, rain slapping against the windows. "Start with what's easiest," Grace prompted. "Tell me about the good. What brought you joy?" Jake took a deep breath, his eyes unfocused as if staring into the distance. "There was a little girl I met while I was away. She was always smiling, even when times were tough. She taught me that happiness can be found in small things." His voice softened, and Grace leaned in closer, sensing the warmth beginning to permeate his fear. "See?" she said softly. "That's exactly it. That's connection." The rain continued to pour, a steady rhythm blending with the laughter and chatter beyond the walls. But inside this bubble of uncertainty, Jake seemed to find his footing. He shared stories of people he had met, moments of kindness that restored his faith in humanity. Each word he spoke pushed back against the shadows that had long cloaked him. As Jake's confidence grew, a brilliant flash of lightning illuminated the room for a split second, filling it with light that mirrored the brightness slowly returning to his eyes. "I guess I always thought I was too far gone to share this, that my story wouldn't resonate," he confessed, looking genuinely surprised as the warmth of connection unfurled between them. "Not at all," Grace chimed in, her heart swelling with encouragement. "You have so much to offer. Who knows how far your words might reach? Just then, another clap of thunder erupted, causing them both to flinch. Outside, a sudden downpour transformed the vibrant day into a shrouded gray. Yet amidst the storm, Grace could practically feel the bonds of the community growing stronger, welcoming Jake's voice. As he began to share more of himself, Grace wondered what would come next. Would this storm wash away the past completely, or would it bring forth a new beginning for them both? Where do we go from here, Grace? Jake asked, the uncertainty reappearing in his eyes. The question hung in the air, charged with possibility. Would he embrace this moment and step fully into the light, or would he retreat once again? The storm raged outside, but within those walls, the chance for transformation loomed larger than ever. Would Jake find the courage he needed to embrace his past and share his story with the town? Jake's breath caught for a moment as he looked deeper into Grace's eyes, searching for an answer that felt elusive. He could hear the tumult of the storm outside, but it felt like a distant echo, muffled by the atmosphere within the community center. I think I'm scared, he admitted, the confession slipping out before he could hold it back. Grace nodded, her heart aching for him. Fear is a part of it, Jake. It's okay to be scared. But facing that fear, that's where the strength lies. She watched his expression shift, doubt wrestling with a flicker of determination. He glanced at the window, where the rain streamed down in cascading sheets, scattering the light. I don't know if what I've got to say matters, he murmured, almost pleading with her to reassure him. Every story matters, she insisted, her voice gaining conviction. Your experiences have shaped you, and they can shape others, too. It's just like that little girl you talked about. She found joy amid hardship. You have the power to show others that they can, too. Jake tightened his grip on the table, fingers white-knuckled with tension. Memories flooded his mind, the hurt, the loneliness, the moments when hope had seemed like an impractical joke. Yet, beneath that weight, an ember of resolve began to stir within him. What if no one wants to hear it? He wondered aloud, vulnerability bare in his tone. A lot of people are hurting, Jake, Grace replied gently, her voice soft. They just need to know they're not alone. They need someone who understands. The silence hung between them, vibrant with the intensity of contemplation. The storm seemed to quiet, as if nature held its breath, waiting for Jake's next words. He looked out at the rain-soaked world beyond the window, the vibrant festival now a watercolor of grays and greens. Okay, I'll try, he finally said, the determination in his voice growing stronger. But I don't even know how to start. Grace smiled. Just say what's in your heart. Jake inhaled deeply, his voice trembling slightly as he began to speak. When I left here, I was searching for something, or maybe running from everything. I thought the world out there would be easier. Instead, it was just more complex. He faltered, his brow furrowing as he wrestled with how much to reveal. I battled with myself in ways I didn't think I could, but I came to realize that I wasn't just fighting towards something. I was running away from every sad story I ever lived. With every word, the tension in his shoulders began to ease. He narrated moments of despair, tales of battling inner demons, and nights spent questioning his worth. The encouragement in Grace's gaze urged him on, and Jake found himself sharing raw truths, vulnerabilities wrapped in memories he had long kept hidden. As he spoke, the connection between them grew deeper, forged in shared understanding. Grace felt every emotion radiating from him, every heartbeat echoing the struggles they both recognized. After finishing a particularly heavy story about a moment of crisis, Jake looked up at Grace, the flicker of hope ignited in his eyes. I never thought I could talk about this. Not like this. And you did, she beamed, her face lighting up with pride. Just then, the storm outside began to wane, the rain falling softer, gentle tapping against the roof. It mirrored the shift that was taking place inside Jake, an opening, a willingness to embrace whatever path lay ahead. I feel different, he said softly, almost in disbelief. Grace reached out to grasp his hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. That's the power of sharing, Jake. You're not just talking about your past, you're giving voice to the hope that can guide you and others. As they sat in their peaceful sanctuary filled with light that replaced the earlier shadows, Jake knew they had crossed a threshold. But another question was deepening in his heart: did he have what it took to keep moving forward? Grace seemed to sense his uncertainty. Just as she was about to speak, they heard voices from outside rising in excitement. Something had changed. The festival didn't just wait for the storm to pass, it had transformed into something larger than life. Would they join, or would Jake stay behind in the safety of what was known? Grace, what if I really go out there? What if I can't handle it? He asked, the storm inside him swirling once more. She looked deeply into his eyes. What if you take a chance and find that you're stronger than you ever believed? The question lingered, charged with possibility. Would he find the courage to embrace the unknown, or would the storm within win this time? Jake's heart raced as he absorbed Grace's words. The excitement outside tugged at him, pulling him toward the festival, while the chaos inside felt almost paralyzing. The laughter and music trickled through the walls, a joyous wave crashing against the barriers of his anxiety. He closed his eyes for a moment, imagining the festival colorful lights, the smell of cotton candy mixed with savory food, and people dancing, celebrating life beyond the struggles they faced. But that world felt so far away, a tantalizing dream wrapped in his own fears. Are you ready? Grace's voice sliced through his thoughts, clear and steady, offering an anchor in the storm. Jake opened his eyes, meeting her gaze. I want to be, but what if I fall apart? The words escaped him, tinged with a vulnerability he had just begun to unearth. Falling apart can lead to something beautiful, Jake. It's where the healing starts, she reassured him, her own eyes glimmering with encouragement. Taking in a deep breath, he stood, feeling the pressure release slightly from his chest. Together? He asked, searching for confirmation. Together, she said, smiling brightly. With newfound determination, they stepped toward the door. The threshold felt like a portal between two worlds, the safe, familiar quiet and the chaotic vibrancy only a festival could bring. Taking another breath, Jake pushed the door open, the cool air rushing in as the sound of celebration flooded over them. As they stepped outside, the rain had transformed the ground into a glistening canvas, reflecting the colorful lights strung overhead. Jake blinked against the brightness, a part of him still trying to hide, but Grace's presence anchored him. They moved forward, blending into the crowd. The energy was infectious. Laughter mingled with music, and every face seemed lit with joy. Festival-goers caught up in the moment. Jake felt his own lips twitching into a smile, the weight of his uncertainty lightening just a bit. He watched as children danced wildly, their carefree movements a stark contrast to the heaviness he had carried. Can you feel it? Grace shouted over the music, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Yeah. He responded, his voice rising. It seemed simple, yet exhilarating. He felt alive for the first time in ages, tension unraveling like strings set loose. Together, they ventured deeper into the heart of the festival, where the main stage showcased performers immersed in vibrant costumes, telling stories through dance and music. The contagious rhythm swayed the crowd, and Jake felt himself swaying along, drawn into the pulse of the crowd. But in the back of his mind, the whispers remained. What if he faltered? What if he was still haunted by his past? As these thoughts crept in, a voice among the performers caught him, a woman's voice, rich and powerful. She poured out a ballad about resilience, about finding strength in moments of despair. Jake turned to Grace, his eyes wide. That's what I want to do. Share my story. Yes. She exclaimed, enthusiasm bright in her voice. You can do this. You have to. He could hardly believe it. The thought of standing on that stage, in front of people, felt like stepping onto dangerous ground. Yet there was a spark inside him, an urge to rise above his fears. The song ended, and he felt a magnetic pull toward the stage. Maybe, just maybe, this was his chance, but before he could take a step forward, the crowd swelled, and instinctively, he held back, fear creeping in once more. Would he really be able to do this? Or was he just chasing an illusion of courage? Jake, Grace said softly, sensing his hesitation. Are you ready to stand up for yourself? As he wrestled with the question, the allure of vulnerability beckoned him closer. Could he truly embrace who he was, with all its imperfections? Before he could fully answer, a voice from the stage called out, "We're looking for brave souls to join us." Jake felt his heart quicken. This was at the moment of truth. Would he step forward, or would he let his fear hold him back? As the crowd cheered, Jake found himself caught between the thrill of possibility and the fear of the unknown. The storm inside him raged again, but somehow, it felt different this time. "The choice is yours," Grace whispered, her encouragement wrapping around him like a lifeline. With every ounce of courage he could muster, he took a step, ready to face whatever awaited him on that stage. But suddenly, his gaze fell on a figure at the edge of the crowd, a familiar face, one he hadn't seen in years, watching him with an intensity that made his heart skip a beat. Could he truly confront his past now? The cheers of the crowd swirled around Jake, like a whirlwind of sound and emotion. He felt the pulse beneath his skin, the energy practically crackling in the air. But it was the figure at the edge of the crowd that rooted him to the spot. His heart thundered as recognition pierced through the joy surrounding him. It was Sophia, his childhood friend. Their eyes locked for a brief moment, a connection he thought was long lost. Memories flooded back, giggles under the big oak tree, secrets shared in the quiet of summer nights. But shadows swirled in those memories, shadows he had tried to bury deep. "Jake." Grace's voice was a gentle nudge, pulling him back to the present. "What's wrong?" He swallowed hard, trying to shake off the tide of emotions that threatened to pull him under. "That's Sophia," he whispered, his voice uncertain. "Go to her," Grace urged, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "You can't run from your past forever. This is your chance." Jake's breathing quickened. A part of him wanted to flee, to disappear into the crowd where no one knew the demons he had fought. But the other part, the part that had begun to awaken at the festival, urged him to move. This was the moment to confront what he had left behind. With a deep breath, he clenched his fists and took a tentative step toward Sophia. Each footfall felt heavy, echoing in the space between them. She hadn't changed in all these years, yet everything felt different. As he approached, the noise of the festival began to fade, replaced by a quiet that rang in his ears. Sophia's expression shifted from surprise to caution, her eyes searching his face for the boy she used to know. "Jake," she finally said, her voice barely piercing the veil of noise around them. "Is that really you?" "Yeah," he replied, fighting the wave of vulnerability that threatened to crash over him. "It's been a long time." "It has." The words hung heavily between them, filled with the weight of memories unsaid. "Are you okay?" She searched his eyes, an intensity in her gaze that made his heart ache. Jake hesitated. Did he look okay? Did anyone really see how he struggled beneath the surface? But this moment felt different. He wanted to be honest, to let her see the truth, the growth, the struggles, the healing. "I'm trying to be," he admitted, the reality of his situation spilling from him. "I guess I just kept running." Sophia nodded slowly, understanding flickering in her eyes. "I understand. We all have our battles." The connection sparked again, but this time it was laced with a tension that both thrilled and terrified him. He wanted to share everything, the hurt, the fear, and the new hope blooming within him. Yet, he also feared being judged, of being that boy from the past who struggled to find himself. "See that stage?" Grace's voice broke through the haze again as she pointed behind him. "You can tell your story up there. You can show everyone, including her, how far you've come." Jake turned back to Grace, heart racing with the thought. What if he truly laid bare his soul? What if, in sharing his pain, he could also discover strength? "Join us," came the call from the stage again, echoing his inner turmoil. He took a breath, glancing back at Sophia. Her encouraging smile ignited something inside him, a spark that started to pack the weight of his fears into a tiny box he could hold. Maybe it's time for me to stop hiding, he said quietly, looking back at Grace and nodding. But then, something in Sophia's eyes caught his attention. Uncertainty marred her look, a flicker of something deeper, regret or perhaps warmth. "Jake, wait," Sophia's voice stopped him just as he took the final step. "Do you think we can really face our pasts together?" Jake felt the weight of her question, the possibility that they could share this journey of healing side by side. "I hope so," he replied, his voice steadying. "But are you ready to step forward too?" As the festival pulsed around them, a moment of truth loomed ahead, not only for him but for Sophia as well. What would it take to bridge the gap between their past and their present? And in that moment, a new journey began, a journey not just for him, but for both of them. Was this truly the beginning of their healing? Jake's heart raced as he looked into Sophia's eyes, a mixture of uncertainty and hope swirling in their depths. The buzz of the festival melted away, leaving only the two of them standing in that suspended moment. "I've spent so long running from everything we shared," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want to feel the pain anymore." Sophia nodded, her expression softening. "But that pain is part of us, Jake. Maybe facing it is how we finally move forward." He could feel the truth of her words, resonating deep within him. Did he have the strength to confront those shadows alongside her? He took a step closer, wanting to bridge that emotional distance. "I want to try," he said. "Together, right?" A flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. "Together." Just then, the festival lights shifted, illuminating the stage like a beacon, calling him forward. The excitement around them pulsed with life, but at that moment, only Sophia seemed real. The doubt still hung heavy in the air, but the bond they shared felt stronger than the fear. "Let us do it," Jake declared, his voice firm. "Let us face our pasts and be honest about who we are now." Sophia smiled, a mix of surprised delight and relief washing over her face. "I'd like that." Jake held his breath, feeling a sudden rush of exhilaration. "We could tell them everything," he suggested, glancing at the stage again. "Show everyone that we've changed. That we're not just the kids we used to be." Sophia's eyes widened at the prospect, and the nervous energy crackled between them. "But what if they don't understand? What if I'm still that girl lost in my own battles?" "I think they will," Jake replied, his conviction rising. "We're all just trying to find our way." The warmth of her smile spread across his chest, and he could see the flicker of determination ignite within her as well. Sophia whispered, "Okay, let us go up there together." As they moved toward the stage, the crowd's cheers felt like a tidal wave, swelling with encouragement. With each step, Jake felt the weight of his past begin to lift. They could share their stories not just of struggle, but of what they had learned, the SEO of their experiences, the life lessons that blossomed like wildflowers amidst the darkness. "I'm scared, Jake," Sophia admitted suddenly, her voice laced with vulnerability, yet beautiful in its honesty. "Me too," he confessed, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "But maybe that's what makes it so necessary." Moments later, as they climbed the steps to the stage, Jake's heart thundered, a blend of anxiety and excitement coursing through him. Would sharing their truths really help heal the wounds of their pasts? The crowd was electric, an eager audience waiting for their words, and as they stood together at the microphone, Jake felt Sophia's presence beside him, grounding him. "Hi, everyone," he began, taking a deep breath. "We're here to share our story. It's one filled with pain but also with hope." He looked over at Sophia, and she nodded, her eyes bright with confidence. Together, they took that leap into vulnerability, ready to unveil their authenticity to the world, but just as he started to recount the twists and turns of their past, a shadow flickered at the edge of the crowd. Jake's heart dropped. Could it be? The moment halted as he spotted a familiar face, a ghost from his past, and suddenly, the weight of everything he knew started to shift. What did this mean for him and Sophia? Would this change everything they were trying to build? As he stood there, facing the waves of emotions threatening to crash over him once again, he realized this journey was just beginning. What would it mean to confront his past once and for all, especially now with this unexpected arrival? Jake's heart raced as he looked into the crowd, the familiar face piercing through the joy of the moment. There stood Kyle, a figure from his past who had once been a close friend and now felt like a shadow of everything Jake had tried to leave behind. Memories flooded in years of laughter, competition, and then anger. The last time they had crossed paths, it had ended in hurt. Sophia noticed the change in him instantly. "Jake? What's wrong?" Her voice was a mix of concern and determination. "He's here," Jake whispered, his throat dry. "Kyle." Sophia followed his gaze, her brow furrowing. "The one who?" "Yeah," Jake answered, clenching his fists. "I thought I could finally step into the light, and now you can't let that ruin this moment." She urged gently, her eyes steady and sincere. "Whatever happened between you two is not a judgment on who you are now. You've changed. You're ready." A wave of uncertainty crashed over him, drowning out the infectious energy of the crowd. Could he really stand up here, shoulder to shoulder with Sophia, bearing his soul while faced with the ghosts of his past? "Let's take this one step at a time," Sophia offered, her hand squeezing his for encouragement. "We're here to share our truth. His presence doesn't erase our progress." Jake took a deep breath, remembering how far he had come from the boy lost in despair to this moment, standing strong and ready to share the light. "You're right," he said, his voice gaining steadiness. "It's not about him." They turned back to the stage, and the crowd was still alive, filled with anticipation and excitement. "Let's do this together," Sophia smiled. Lengthening her fingers over the microphone, she leaned in close, her eyes alight with courage. "We want to share our story," she began, her voice reaching the eager faces before them. "It's a story of hardship, but also resilience and hope." Jake poured his heart into the moment, speaking honestly about their journey, sharing how fear had once blocked him from facing his truth. Each word was an anchor, steadying him. "I spent years running away from who I was," he confessed. "But today, I realize that embracing my past is part of my healing." As he spoke, he stole a glance at Kyle again. The tension between them hung heavy, yet even from afar, Jake could see curiosity in his former friend's eyes, maybe even a hint of understanding. Sophia added, "And what really matters is how we're moving forward. Together, as a community, we can rise from our pasts." Jake lifted his gaze back to the crowd, feeling the warmth of their support, lifting him beyond the weight of concern. "We all have stories that shape us. Sharing them is how we find our way back to ourselves." The crowd erupted in applause, their energy washing over him like a wave, urging him on. There was love and acceptance in that moment. He felt that all old wounds could be healed if he faced them bravely. He and Sophia shared their experiences, the light, the dark, the joy found within everything that had once hurt. With each story, Jake began to feel lighter, the burden of doubt and fear dissipating as he connected not only with Sophia but with the community surrounding them. In the faces before him, he saw more than just listeners, he saw hearts opening, ready to heal through shared understanding. Then, unexpectedly, in the midst of the applause, a voice emerged from the crowd, cutting through like thunder, "I'm sorry, Jake." Jake froze as everyone turned towards Kyle, his voice straining with sincerity. "I know we left things bad between us. I never wanted that to define you." Jason's heart raced, he felt the room pulse with tension. This was the moment he feared, yet something within urged him to respond. "Let us not dwell on the past," Jake said, his voice steady. "What I did then doesn't define who I am today. Just like we all have the chance to move forward. The truth is, we've all struggled," Kyle continued, his voice ringing with regret. "And I've spent so long feeling lost and afraid to admit it. We all need second chances. Even me." Jake felt the room shift as awareness crackled. Among the crowd, recognizing that every single person had their own scars. That realization transformed the energy from fear to unity. Maybe we can help each other heal, Sophia suggested, her voice strong, echoing Heart's heart. Imagine what we could achieve together, a community bound by shared stories and hope. As Kyle stepped forward, his vulnerability mirrored Jake's, and they locked eyes, a powerful understanding coursing between them. "I'd like that," Kyle admitted, standing tall. The crowd erupted in cheers at the unexpected moment of connection. Hearts were opening, shadows were lifting, and Jake realized that sharing their truths truly softened the barriers. In that instant, he knew they were all stepping into an era of healing together. Grace stood behind the crowd, watching it unfold, a radiant smile of pride lighting her face. She had imagined this unity, connection, and the miracle of transformation that was born through fearlessly sharing their stories. As the festival continued around them, Jake realized no storm he ever faced could shake the bonds built through love and honesty. They were ready to face the future together. This was only the beginning. And you, yes you, are part of this journey too. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us keep growing, comment below your reactions and feelings about this transformation, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of resistance and hope. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love and support this community.